episode 6. You will recall in episode 5 we made limeade, and then I unexpectedly had cherries sitting there, so I whipped out my Bam mix and made cherry limeade. And I said, you know, all these lovely gadgets that go with the Bam mix, it could make peanut butter. Well, I told you I would show you, but I didn't do it. So let's do it now. Okay, have I suited up? Check me. Hair, shirt, cuff, hands, I washed them, towel, ready to go. Okay, here's my Bam mix. And all his little toys. We have some peanuts. And among the different attachments, there are 2 that are similar. I'll show you the differences. This one, the blade comes out. This one, no come out. Okay, so this guy would be easier to wash. This one's less easy to wash. Now here's that disc that, we call it a powder disc, that helps you keep things down near the bottom so you can grind very small quantity. It doesn't fit this one. It fits that one. So if I only had one, I'd get this one. Okay, now you know about that. Moving on, let's put some peanuts in here. Let's say I just want enough to make, I'm living in a hotel and I don't have storage containers. I just need enough peanut butter for my meal that I'm eating right now. Okay, so I got my peanuts. Here we go. What they want you to do is shake it because that helps move it down. Since you don't have a tamper to push with, you just have to use gravity. Almost there, but not quite. How am I going to get it to pull down? See, it's kind of stiff, but if you grind it enough, then the oil will come out and make it all silky. Let's keep going. Peanut butter. That part's kind of stiff. Let's see if I give it another little go, what I get. That's kind of like a dough ball. Okay. That ought to do it. There is peanut butter. Let's see if it tastes the same. Yep, that's it. It's a little bit grainier than the Vitamix, but you could just keep this running and it would do it. So that's Bam mix making individual portions or small portions of peanut butter. Now, I forgot to tell you, among the snacks that you can do with peanut, it's really good on an apple. So if you get your, here I am using another kind of knife. I haven't used the paring knife before. But you see I'm cutting through. Oh wait, should I have peeled my apple? Remember our rule of thumb about apples and skins? If the skin is a different color than the inside, then the skin has special good stuff like vitamins in it or directly under it. Therefore, you should not get rid of the skin. But if, like a carrot, the skin and the inside are the same color, then there's nothing special in the skin and you can peel it off if you want to. So here's my apple. And I like the flavor of apples, but I used to find that if I ate only an apple just by itself as an afternoon snack, like at work for the 3 o'clock snack time, that like 20 minutes later, I would have this terrible stomach ache. So I decided I can't eat apples basically on an empty stomach. They have to be with something else. So I lived with that for a decade or so, and then I tried different kinds of apples. I always grew up with Red Delicious. Well, guess what? If you try other apples besides Red Delicious, they don't do it. Or at least not to me. So, this is a Fuji apple. Let's try it with some peanut butter. It's warm peanut butter. That's a nice snack. Okay. Now we've done that. Moving on. So today we're going to make breakfast. Let's look at a couple of different things that people commonly eat for breakfast. Here's those cornflakes I bought to demonstrate salt. I've never bought Kellogg's cornflakes before. So they're not made by ConAgra, they're made by Kellogg's. And there was a Mr. Kellogg who about 100 years ago started this health spa place where he was trying to improve people's health, and one of the things he did, I think it was his brother, invented cornflakes. So that's where that came from. And that led to all of our breakfast cereals. Those cold, put it in a bowl, put some milk on it, breakfast cereals. Okay, now, what's in it? Ingredients. Milled corn, sugar. Sugar's our number 2 ingredient. Malt flavor. Contains 2% or less of salt. BHT added to packaging for freshness. Okay, so it's corn, sugar, malt flavor, and salt with some BHT. Okay, so what kind of corn is that? I believe it's 95% of the corn in the United States is BT corn, or Roundup corn. I mean, between the two of them, they've pretty much covered it all. So, do we see non-GMO? Do we see organic? No. Made with a simple recipe for more than 100 years. Yeah, but we totally changed how we grow corn, so it's not made out of what it used to be. It may have been healthy at some point, but not anymore. Okay, that's Kellogg's. Now, what's another really common breakfast? Bacon and eggs. Let's make bacon and eggs. Okay, so we need some eggs and some bacon. Bacon, eggs, and so we finally got around to frying an egg. The thing that most people, what I've been finding is most people, first thing they ever learned how to cook was an egg. So you want to get a little pan. I'm going to fry this one, okay? Pan, stove, put it on about medium. Before I do that, bacon going. Okay, I'll tell you, it is worth it to buy yourself a pair of kitchen shears. These come apart. See, look, they come apart, and then I can really clean them. I don't get food down in the joint and then have things growing in there. Come apart. They're very sturdy. I have cut serious things with this. They're good to have. Okay. These are made by Wusthof. I'll show you Wusthof. How do I do it? Can you see it? Wusthof. Okay. They're a German company. They make probably the best knives you're going to find on the mass market. I much prefer them to Henkel's. We'll talk more about knives later. Okay, here we go with the bacon. Now, since I'm cutting into raw meat, I have to know that these need to go in the dishwasher at this point. Because I got stuff on them. Raw meat is a hazard, way more than, say, a raw plant. You really need to make sure that anything that touched raw meat gets cleaned with soap and water promptly. And you don't cross-contaminate. Like if I now use these scissors to trim some parsley or something, and I'm eating my parsley raw, and I'm just cutting it up with my shears, I would be putting raw pork onto parsley that's eaten raw, and that's how you get sick. Don't do it. Meat needs special care. Now, I need a pan. Okay, there's a lot of ways to cook bacon. Here I have a pan with ridges, and it is lined with non-stick stuff. That'll make it easier to clean. Okay, there we go. I'm going to touch this as little as possible. Okay, lay out your strips. And they shrink a lot as you're cooking. I need to be over here. Okay. Here we are. So the bacon will shrink a lot as it's cooking. So you can put pieces very close, the strips very close to each other. Run a couple along the end here. Is that one or two? It's a little fat part. Okay. Who doesn't love bacon? One of the world's great joys. Yum, yum, yum. Okay, so I squish it, spread it out, there. Now, as it's cooking, that will shrink. Let me wash my hands. Now the question is, how am I going to cook it? My choices are, you can do it on the top of the stove, and what that will get you is a splattery mess. You can put a splatter shield over it. I've got a really high quality one. It doesn't stop splatters. They still get through. You get this fine, mist of splattered grease all over the stove and the counter next to the stove. So that's not great. If you put a lid on it, the problem is that the moisture stays inside and the bacon won't get crisp. It just is steaming it. So that's not good. What are you going to do? You could put the cover on halfway, but leave it a little bit open so the steam can get out. You could try that. I have a better method, or a method I prefer. I use my oven. I'm going to crank this thing up to, let's do 375. Now, I normally keep this pan in there. Don't keep things inside your oven. If there are other people in your house who might not know they're in there, or you, if you don't remember that they're in there. I happen to use this pan pretty much every day, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so if I put this pan of bacon in this oven, it'll take a little while, and you have to time it because if you start your egg too soon, you'll be cold before your bacon's ready. So, in goes the bacon. Do not put in a pan that does not have a handle that can tolerate the heat. You have to know what your pan is made of. Now, I have stainless steel handles, and I know the temperature limit on that Teflon stuff. So, non-stick, let me throw this away. Non-stick coatings, you have to be very careful because once they get to a high temperature, they will break down and they give off chemicals. And those chemicals are extremely dangerous to young children. So don't be playing that game if there's young kids around, if your temperature is going too high. And of course, if it's bad for young kids, like it'll take them down, that's just because they're like the canary in the coal mine. They're the little ones who are more obviously affected, but it can't be doing the big people any good. So watch it with your nonstick. I have only three pieces of nonstick, and that one was a free gift with purchase. I wouldn't buy it, but it's kind of nice to have because it cleans easily. So this brand over here is enameled cast iron. And so the enamel is where they actually take ground glass that's been ground to a powder, and they put it on top of the metal, and then they put it in an extremely hot oven or kiln that melts it on. And so you've got a surface that's like glass that is impervious to things that want to eat through it. Nothing can eat through it. And it's fairly non-stick. So that's nice. And then they make a special version that's black on the inside. The normal one is light colored, but they make one that's black on the inside because that lets you get to a higher temperature. So if you wanted to grill something, doing it with the one that's black will let you do that. And they make a grill pan just like, just like that one. So if you're going to buy one, I would buy that brand, which is made in France. It's been made since 1925, 1929, 1925, I think. So it's almost 100 years old. They have lifetime warranty on them, and they are made out of, as I said, cast iron covered with enamel. Here's one now. Look at this. See? Here's his cast iron, and here's his pretty much non-stick stuff. And then the outside is done in that same stuff, but then they paint it. So they come in all sorts of bright colors, and that's fun. Okay, here's my other pan that we will use as a candidate to see which one works better, and then we'll have to figure out why one works better than the other. Place your bets now as to which you think will work better. Now, I'm going to make oatmeal. That's another thing people often eat for breakfast. Let's look a little bit about oats first. So, here is whole oats. See? That is a grain. That's the entire grain, just the way it came off the plant. Okay, that's a whole oat. Now, what can I do with it? If I cook it the way it is, I guess it would look big like rice. For some reason, we never eat it that way. Okay, if you roll over it and squash it like it went through a giant rolling pin or a steamroller, like they use to flatten pavement on a road, then you get squashed oats. And those are called rolled oats because they literally put them through a roller that squashes them. That's why they can look a little bit curved too, because they got squashed. So this guy run over with a big squasher, big giant rolling pin, looks like this. See, that one in particular, you can see how his skin broke as he was getting squashed. Okay. What else could you do to this? So I could eat it whole, I could squash it, or I could do something else. Now, why would you squash it? You might think, well, that lets the inside get out more easily so we could eat it and digest it. Okay, that's one argument. Another is too much texture here. This is too chewy. I have no idea. I've never done whole oats, but I can see the argument. Because if you squash it and make it very thin, it would be easier to eat because there's not as much texture left. You broke it. No more texture. So if you've ever had oatmeal that is rolled oats, here's good old Quaker oats. They're rolled. It's called old-fashioned. The taste is okay, but the texture can be a little mushy. Now, if you've made your oatmeal by going the old 5 minutes in the microwave or 3-minute instant oat, any of that stuff, especially if it comes already flavored in an envelope, just pour it in, stick it in the microwave, ready almost instantly. Yeah, it goes like a volcano in there. And it doesn't taste good. Its texture is not anything you want to be eating. And the flavor is, you know, dry, chemical, not so happy. However, if you come over here and you start with old-fashioned oats, then at least you're getting better flavor from the oat. Let's see how long it takes to cook old-fashioned oats. 5 minutes. In the microwave, it takes 3. So consider the difference. For 2 more minutes, you get a better product. What exactly is in this? Whole grain rolled oats. Good job, Quaker. Lasting energy. It does not say, if the Heart Association likes it, I'm saying that it's a recycled package, or the majority of this canister made from recycled paperboard. Okay, so they're recycling, that's good. This does not say organic. It does not say non-GMO. Uh-oh. Now, the other thing you can do to oats, instead of squashing them, you could take this, and what if I got out my knife and I cut it in little pieces? What would that look like? Look like this. These are steel cut oats. That means they went in there with something that had sharp steel teeth and they cut it. Now I've got little pieces. Let's cook some of that. This is what I prefer. It is chewy. It is nice. If you've never had it, go one morning to your local Jamba Juice shop because they have it every morning. That's the first place I had it. It's nice. And they will put different things on it to flavor it for you, and you get to pick what you want. So that's a first good taste test. Now, let's look how you actually make it. All right, packaging. Here is Quaker. Now it has steel cut oats. Still good for your heart. Still a recycled package. Steel cut oats. Whole grain rolled oats. Well, they didn't say whole grain on this one. I don't know why. It's not like you're going to get much. That's the whole grain. I can see it from one end to the other. They didn't want to say whole. And you simmer it for 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, so that one takes longer. I will tell you, it is totally worth it, and it's an easy way to start your morning. If you get your oatmeal going, get it cooked, stirred, and now it's on the simmer stage, and then go take your morning shower, or go get your face ready, or shave or something. In 25 to 30 minutes, then your breakfast will be ready. It works great. Okay, so let's take this. Oh, here's a brand. You'll see this one in stores. Look at that, non-GMO. Good job, guys. McCann's is doing high quality work. They tell you how fabulous they are. 100% whole grain Irish oats. Yeah, this is Irish. Some people will call it Irish oatmeal, but it's steel cut oatmeal. Takes longer to cook. It won an international exhibition in 1876. Good job, guys. Okay, it comes in a metal container, so when you're finished, you could use it for something. And I think that's all we have to say. So let's make some oatmeal. I buy mine in the bulk section at any natural type grocery store. Whole Foods will have it. You could get it probably at Sprouts. I wonder if Sprouts has it in bulk. Sprouts tends to, their bulk section is not organic so much. Whole Foods is better. Let's make it. Now, you use a 2-to-1 ratio of water to oats. And I like to use 2/3 cup of oats. So double that is how much water I need. That would be 4/3. In other words, 1.5 cups. Let's put our 2 pans. I've had these on for a while. Let's test them, see if they're the same temperature. I happen to have 2 hot plates. We're not doing this on the stove because every one of my stove burners is a different size from all the others. So here we go. Pan. Now I need 1.5 cups. And I'll tell you, I put a little bit extra in, and I'll show you why. Okay, here's a little bit extra. Now I have to let these boil. The way you make oatmeal is 2-to-1 ratio of water to oatmeal. You bring the water to a boil, you stir in the oatmeal, and then you put the lid on and you turn it down to a simmer. It's important. Turn it as low as your stove will go. And then you let it sit there for 20, maybe 30 minutes. Usually 20 does it. And you're good. Now I put stuff in my oatmeal. So what am I going to put in this? have there, 2/3 cup there. Not quite 2/3. Getting close. I'm going to say that these are equal. Okay. Now, what do you like in your oatmeal? I like cinnamon. You know, there are super foods that they tell you are good for you, like blueberries and broccoli and stuff. There's also super spices that are good for you, and one of them is cinnamon. Cinnamon improves your mental ability to focus. So when I have a long day that I know I had better get a good breakfast because this day is just not going to end and I have to think sharply the whole day or for sustained periods, I eat cinnamon. And I find that if I eat oatmeal, that if you start your day with a bowl of oatmeal, you can go all day. Your energy does not flag, doesn't lapse just before lunch the way it does with other things. Now here's some other spices. This is pumpkin pie spice and this one's pie spice. So what's pie spice have? It's cinnamon, but it also has vanilla sugar, mace, ginger, nutmeg, anise seed, and clove. So you can get a couple other flavors in there. There we go. Now, I like to put dried fruit in my oatmeal. And if you put it in when you're assembling your bowl, it will cook in the water. And that's why I add extra water, because it's needed to plump up the dried fruit. Okay, so those are dried cranberries. These are dried cherries. Some cherries in there. These are raisins. And these are blueberries. They're little blueberries. The wild blueberries have more flavor than domestic blueberries or cultivated blueberries. And they're harder to find because of where they grow and how they grow. So finding wild blueberries is kind of a trick. But when I was a kid, we used to make, I think it was Duncan Hines brand blueberry muffin mix. And it had a can, like it was about the size of a can of tuna, of the wild blueberries in their juice. And my brother and I, early cooking as children, we were all about that can of blueberries because you had to drain it, and then we would fight with each other about who got to drink the blueberry juice. And I don't know that the blueberry juice was that good, but the fact that you had to fight for it with your brother made it seem desirable. Okay, if you put these in, you will have purple oatmeal. I'm fine with that. I've also sort of been finding lately that I think the blueberries are kind of preventing the oatmeal from sort of bubbling over and leaking. We'll check into that. All right. So as soon as the water boils, I can put it in, you can put in my oatmeal. How are we doing? You're working on it. I'm going to crank them up. Now, the kitchen is beginning to smell like bacon. Okay, watch this. You see how I now have a wet towel because I've washed my hands and I've dried it. Never, ever, ever use a wet cloth or a wet pot holder to pick up something that's hot. Because what will happen, if I reach in there and I get that hot handle off of that pan, the heat from the handle will cause the water in the towel to turn into steam. And it will come out on this side and I will get a steam burn. So I cannot use that towel as a pot holder. Oh, I don't know if I showed you. I have a very low opinion of microwaves. Alton Brown used to have a TV show on the Food Network that was very informative. He was so good. And one episode was about microwave ovens, and he does his homework, so I trust what he says. And I've forgotten what the number was. I want to say about 92%. Might have been the high 80s, somewhere between the high 80s and the low 90s, is the percentage of nutrients, vitamins and minerals in your food that are destroyed when you put it in a microwave. So remember, we had our nutritional needs are we need fuel and we need repair and maintenance. Well, if you want to totally destroy the repair and maintenance side of your food, put it in a microwave. So I don't use one. I use it as a pot holder. It's a great pot holder. I know no other use for a microwave. Okay, let's look at my bacon. It's getting, see, he's working on it. He's not there yet. Keep going. I have it cranked up. It's at 375, and the oven won't let me go faster. Fine. Okay, water's boiling. Okay, take this off, put these in, and know that the first thing to hit the surface is going to cause it to get excited and boil. So put a little bit of something in and then finish it. Same over here, a little bit of something and then finish it. Okay, now they have to return to the boil. That guy never finished boiling. And in these pans, you should not use metal against the pan because it makes lines. You have to be kind of careful. Okay, that guy's ready. Now it needs to simmer, so I'm turning them all the way down. And then I'm going to put his lid back on. I've got him set on number 2 out of 12. That's pretty low. This guy's boiling. I'm going to turn him down to number 2 out of 12. Actually, I'll turn this one to 1. Okay. What's he doing? He's getting excited. He's blowing his top. Oatmeal's coming out the side. That does not normally happen on the gas stove. Neither does it happen when I use a stove that's just the old traditional coil electric stove. It's happening over here. Now, that is a smaller pan than this one. They're close, but not quite the same. Got them both turned down to number 1. This is odd, because what I found is this is always the one to blow his top, and this guy's always well behaved. They're switched positions. What's your story, dude? That is really fast. Look how that's exceedingly boiling. It shouldn't be doing that. What I'm seeing is that that hot plate does not cool off very well. Okay, this guy's probably doing the same thing. I can hear it, but he's got more room to mess around. Yeah, see, they're just boiling like gangbusters. So what we're seeing is these hot plates do not lower their temperature quickly. Let's make some eggs. Now, what do you use as your oil for your egg? You can use, I always use butter. All right, let us fry an egg. I'm going to turn this to about medium, and I'm going to put some butter in it.
Not too much. Don't need a lot.
I saw a movie about Italian people, and they fry their egg in olive oil, which makes sense. They use a lot of olive oil. Okay, so the deal with eggs is when you crack one, don't crack it over the edge of something. People will, when you're a little kid, they did it when I was little, show here's how you crack an egg. You pick it up and you hit it over the edge of something. But I later learned that is not a good way to do it, because when the shell breaks, pushing it over this edge of something forces the broken piece of shell up into the egg, and then you have to go chasing eggshells. It's better to just whack it on something flat, so on your countertop. That will work better. Okay. So I'm going to whack it on something solid. Here, I will demonstrate for you. And then in it goes. How many do we want to make? We'll make 2. Okay. Put a little bit of pepper on it. And a little bit of salt. Now we wait. So this is turned on the high end of medium. It's like medium and a quarter. You will need a flipper to flip it. You'll need Now when that bacon comes out, it's going to be grease everywhere. And trying to get bacon grease out of any kind of fabric is a lost cause. So don't think about using any kind of towel to deal with your grease. Use something disposable. So here we are with paper towels. So how do you like your eggs? If you only like them cooked on the bottom, then as soon as it gets cooked the way you like it in this pan, you slide it out and you're done. That's sunny side up, because the top is still the way it fell in the pan. I do not like my yolks cooked any way other than all the way through. I want them pale yellow, no dark at all. So I always flip mine. And then you're faced with how do you get the yolk to cook before the edges burn. So see how the edges are starting to really brown, but the middle is clearly not very far into cooking. He's nowhere near finished. It's starting to go. Now I'm going to flip it. I let it go as long as I could on that side. Get under it. Make sure it's really on your flipper. And then flip it over. And I squash mine because that helps the yolk get further out so it'll cook faster. The problem essentially is that the edges are thin and the middle is thick, and so I have a hard time getting it cooked all the way through. But there is a way around that. I'm never used one of these, but I have a friend who swears by them. If you put this in your pan and then you put your egg in the middle, it'll keep the egg small. So the edges won't keep spreading out and get thin. They'll stay kind of thick. And then you can get an even cooking on your egg. You can also use that for making little round pancakes. So that was at Bed Bath & Beyond for $3. And they also had this one, which is 2 of them, and those handles lift up. And you can get 2 for however much that cost. All right? Let's take a look at the bacon. No, my egg's going crazy.
Okay, that's gonna finish my eggs. Okay, I'm done. There's my eggs.
What's another way to make eggs? We have some time before the oatmeal's finished. You can do scrambled eggs. Here's how that works. Pan. Get a bowl. How do we do this? Do it like this. Okay, so you put a couple of eggs. It's not good. Okay. I'm going to do 2 eggs in there. And let's say a piece of shell fell in. Gee, when you want it to, it won't go in. There. Oh no, a piece of shell has gotten in there. If you try to use a spoon or a fork, it will run away from the spoon or the fork. The proper thing to get an eggshell out of an egg is an eggshell. You can come in there and fish him out because it does not run away from stuff just like it. Okay? That is how you do that. Okay, now you put in a little bit of milk. Okay, a little bit. And salt and pepper. And stir it up. Break the yolks. And then see how I'm kind of lifting as I do it? I'm going around in circles like this. And you could get out a whisk and do it if you wanted to, but you can do it all with your fork. You get fewer things dirty. Okay. I've got that thing turned up halfway between medium and high. Do not use metal in a nonstick pan. It will hurt it, and then it will start peeling off, and then you will start eating it in your food. Don't do it. Use something that's not metal. Okay. Once the butter's melted, see he's kind of bubbling. We're ready to go. So I don't stir it with my fork since my fork is metal. This happens very quickly. And if you cook, I think like the cookbook definition of a properly scrambled egg is that it's still kind of runny. I hate it runny, so I always cook mine a little bit longer than that. And if you go beyond the runny stage, you hit a point where the proteins break up and they release the moisture, and so you end up with watery, clear liquid on the plate with your eggs. And I'm fine with that because I don't like my yolks runny at all. I go until they have just a little bit of brown. They're just starting to brown. And that's my happy spot, but everybody has their own. Okay. That's good. I can handle that. Okay. Let's check that bacon. Okay, here's my bacon. Now, if anybody is trying to sleep, this will get them out of bed. The smell of bacon is just one of life's joys. Okay. Now I'm going to pat it down with some paper towels to get some of that grease off. Right. Pat it down. Okay, bacon. I now have bacon and eggs. Now remember I told you I use this pan pretty much every day? I'll show you what I do. I take a little piece of parchment paper. Parchment does not burn, so it's a good pan liner. And nothing sticks to it. And then I put some walnuts on it. And we have walnuts on pan. Okay. And I put it in the oven for a few minutes because any nut will taste better, it will taste toasty, and the flavors will come out if you toast it a little bit. Just put it on a plain pan and stick it in the oven. Don't burn the nuts. They cook very quickly. Okay, the oatmeal thinks that it is ready. Let's see. So here they are. Okay, this one, put in there. This one I will probably do better with the little pot holder. See, it's hard to hold this pan because it's got a little handle instead of that long handle. This is a tough pan to manipulate, and I'm always afraid I'm going to drop it or burn myself or hurt myself. It's not good for tipping sideways. Okay. Now, you can put things on your oatmeal after it's cooked. You could do, my friend likes to do thin slices of apple. Okay, that's tasty. You could do that. You could take a banana. Here's how you cut a banana without touching it. That way, and then this way. I learned this at Baskin-Robbins. We used to have to do it to make ice cream splits. If it were an ice cream split, I would put it in the dish and cut it like that and then peel these off. But I want little discs. So you pull this down, and then you cut upward, and see my thumb has never touched the fruit. So this one's going to have bananas. And also have blueberries. Blueberries are super good for you. So figure out how to get them in your life and putting them in your oatmeal. Look, I've got two different kinds of blueberries. I've got the little wild ones cooked into it, and I've got the big conventional ones on top. Now, that needs some moisture. Let's put milk on it. I'm going to pick one. I'll pick this one. There you go. Here's another milk. Okay. So, here's oatmeal. Here's bacon and eggs. Which one do you want to eat? Which one tastes better to you? I think I'm going to take a spoon and play in the oatmeal just so you can see what it's like when you get it all stirred up. And I'm going to get those walnuts out of the oven and put those on here. Okay, things that are really good for you. Walnuts, any kind of nut, but particularly walnuts are very good for you. And of course, I've got a lot of fruit going on in there. So things that are good for you versus things that are not good for you. Nuts are good for your heart. They're a source of protein. They're very good, particularly walnuts and particularly almonds. So either of those could go on your oatmeal. I don't know that they'd work on bacon and eggs, but they can go on oatmeal. You could, I suppose, put some peanut butter in your oatmeal and see what that does for you. Oh yeah, because an oatmeal cookie with some peanut butter in it, a cross between an oatmeal cookie and a peanut butter cookie is tasty. You might stir some peanut butter in and see what happens. I've got a lot of fruit. I've got cranberries, raisins, cherries, blueberries that were dried, blueberries that are fresh. I've got banana in one, apple in another. So I'm getting a lot of fruit, and I haven't even started my day yet. Let's look at, oh, and what I do know about oatmeal is if I eat that, I can go halfway through the length of the day before I my energy flags, if at all. So if it's moving day and you're going to have to pick up boxes and keep going and try to keep pace with all the things coming at you, that is a day for oatmeal. Or if I'm having to write computer software under a time crunch and I'm not going to get any other lunch or anything and I simply have to go, that is a day for oatmeal. Now, bacon and eggs, let's see what that gives you. You've got they're both animal protein. The yolk of the egg is what nature designed to feed a baby chick to get it to grow big enough to come out of the shell. And the little white spot on an egg yolk is the baby bird, and then he uses up the yolk to grow. It's got a lot of cholesterol in it. The white of the egg is protein. It's like pure protein. And bacon is some protein, tons of fat, as we all know. There's lots and lots and lots of fat in bacon. Here's the pan that cooked that bacon. Look at all that grease. Now, I patted it down to get rid of the really too much that's still stuck on it. But if you pat it down too much, it'll just taste dry. So a lot of the fun will go away. Let's see, what else can we say? How about this? Have you ever heard of cholesterol? It's a word that we hear flying around by people who talk about health stuff, and you never really know what it is. It's something to do with fat. Okay, here's what it is. It's within whatever fat you're getting in your food. Cholesterol is one of the things that can be in fat, and it's not in other things, it's just in fat. And when you eat the food that has the cholesterol, of course, that food ends up being distributed through all your body, through your blood, and if the cholesterol was in the food, it's now in your blood vessels. And one way you can think of it is as bubble gum. It's sticky, and it sticks to the inside of all of your tubing, all of your arteries and veins. And if you think, well, whatever, I don't care. I wrote a software for a fire department. They were trying to do a program to keep the firemen healthy. And there was one guy who loved bacon. He ate bacon every day, and he ate quite a bit of it. And they drew his blood, and they put it in the thing that spins it around to make the blood separate into its different parts, just like a milk separator. And so they put it in the centrifuge, and they take it off, and its little test tube had this layer on top, and it was bacon fat. So what you eat goes into your bloodstream, and if you eat a lot of bacon, he had like that much bacon fat in his blood, and he was having health issues, and the nurse said, lay off the bacon. Okay, so that's what cholesterol is, and let me show you what that looks like in your blood vessels. So let's say this is your blood vessel. It's a big straw, and your blood goes through it. Everything's great until you get a lot of stuff stuck on the inside, like bubblegum type stuff. That would be cholesterol, gets stuck. And pretty soon, instead of being able to have that much diameter on your tubing that lets a lot of blood through, next thing you know, it's got bubblegum all the way around the inside, and now it's got a smaller diameter. Maybe it's like this straw. See, I went from a fat straw to a skinny straw. And that means your blood can't go as fast, and that's going to cause high blood pressure because the blood's trying to get through, but it can't flow here. It's got a lot of resistance trying to get through. Well, all right, so you went from that to this. And then it gets to the point that it can't get through at all. So then what happens? Then you have this situation. Here is
a straw that I plugged up with lemon flavored Starburst. Okay? And this is what they have to do.
So if you have blockage in your heart or near your heart, in your chest somewhere, they're going to cut you open and pry it so they can see into you. And when you hear about things like a bypass, a quadruple bypass, a double bypass, this is what they're doing. You've got a plugged up artery near your heart, and they have to get around that. So they will cut your leg open, peel it down like, it's basically like you came in contact with an axe and it split you open. And maybe down through the muscle, maybe down to the bone, depends on where they're going to have to go to get this. But they go and they cut your leg wide open, and they take out a piece of your artery, which, you know, your leg needed that, but you're going to have to make do without it. You take that out, and you go up here, and let's say the plugged one was like that. You put the new one like this, and it goes around the plugged up bad one. Okay? And that's a bypass. They're going around the part that doesn't work anymore. So maybe it's plugged up, maybe it's not plugged up, maybe it's diseased and dying, and it's just no good, it's a rotten one, and you have to throw it out, and they put this on. Okay, so that's that. But if you are just full of cholesterol and plugged up, a couple of things they do. One is they take metal that is in a lattice pattern, crisscrossing. Think of a cyclone fence. They do that crisscross metal, that's wire that's woven like a tube, and they stick it down your straw, and then they open it up, and that will keep your straw, your artery, from collapsing under all that cholesterol, that's the bubble gum that's keeping it all stopped up. Okay, so they push it up, and that helps keep it open. Okay, or they just do this.
So you get your scalpel and you cut through the leg or the whatever part of the person, so they're going to have a very deep wound, and they're going to have a big scar the rest of their life, and you go in like this and you cut it open. I'm doing surgery on the kitchen counter. Here we go. All right, there's all that fat.
That's the cholesterol. Think of chicken fat. If you've ever seen raw chicken, it'll look like that.
It'll be yellow, it'll be sticky, and then they have to go in there and get that out. Okay, now we better sew that back up too. So now I have cleared out my artery. Now, all better.
Now I sew the person back up, and they go on with their life, and if they keep eating the way they have been eating, that happens again. You come and you cut them open again, and this goes on and on and on. And hopefully they don't have side effects and have like complications with the surgery, and then they die. So that's how you get cholesterol out of your blood vessels. Another way you can do it is with what you're eating. There is a food that has a component in it that no other food has, which is particularly good at pulling the cholesterol out of your veins. Guess what it is? Oatmeal. So if I eat this one, it takes the cholesterol out of my body, and if I eat these guys, it puts the cholesterol into my body. And all you have to remember about where does cholesterol come from and which foods have it and which foods don't, it's made in the bodies of animals. Plants do not make it. So anything based on an animal is probably going to have cholesterol in it. You can read the package and see. Now, people will tell you that you need to eat a lot of meat, eat your eggs. Why do you eat it? For protein. You need protein. It's an essential thing. You must have protein. Well, yes, you do need protein, but it's not one of your biggest needs. It's sort of like saying, if you're not getting enough nitrogen in your air, okay? As you're breathing, you're not getting enough nitrogen. There's more nitrogen than there is anything else in air. And yes, you need it, but you really kind of looking for oxygen. So if someone says you're not getting enough nitrogen in your air, you're probably not getting enough air. You're probably being suffocated. So you've got bigger problems if you don't have enough nitrogen. It's one of the most plentiful things in our air. If you don't have enough of that, then you need to get out of the plastic bag that somebody has sealed you in. So similar is saying you're not getting enough protein. You get protein in almost everything you eat. So it's not something you need to actively seek out and say, I must get a lot of this. You're going to get it along with everything else. It's like not enough pepper in the course of your diet. You put pepper on everything. It just comes along with everything else you're eating. So the other thing to remember is if they say you need to eat meat and eggs and dairy to get our protein, those are animals. Guess where the animals get the protein? They make it in their own body? No. Animals do not make protein. They get it from the plants that they are eating. The only thing on the planet that can make protein is a plant. It's part of the photosynthesis. They take the stuff from the soil and the sun coming down and they play in their leaves, and it's a plant that makes protein. So the way the protein got in this bacon over here is that they fed the plants to the pig, and the pig ate it, and then it went in him. The same way as if I now eat the pig, it goes from him into me. But if I get my protein from plant to pig to me, the pig adds to the cholesterol. If I do it from the plant to me, there's no cholesterol because that's coming from the animals. So just know that. Make your eating decisions accordingly, and that's that. Now, what else can we talk about? So homework was homework was forks over knives, right? Okay, so forks over knives, you saw that we had Dr. Esselstyn and we had T. Colin Campbell were experts who are now in their advanced years, and one of them came from surgery, trying to fix bodies that were broken for his whole career, and the other one came from research, understanding how people eat and how that affects their health. And they both started out as farm boys, and T. Colin Campbell grew up as a dairy farmer, and he's found out, wait a minute, dairy is not good for you. And it was the thinking of the time. Everybody thought milk was nature's perfect food. Well, let me show you something about it. So if I take here's a bottle. If I put some baking soda in it, baking soda on the scale of pH, which is on one end of the scale is alkaline and the other end of the scale is acid. We call alkaline a base. Okay, that's too much. That'll do it. Okay, watch this. So if one end of the scale or the spectrum is a base, an alkaline, okay, and the other end of the scale is acid. Baking soda is a base, it's alkaline. Vinegar is an acid. What happens when the two meet up? If you never did this in third grade science, here's the fun, watch. Okay, so now, instead of having one thing that's very alkaline and one thing that's very acid, they have neutralized each other, and this resulting stuff is going to be halfway between the two. What I thought was interesting yesterday when we were making the cherry limeade is the lime juice is acid. But baking soda is base, which means, or alkaline, which means that when the two meet, they'll kind of neutralize. And remember I said that it was kind of interesting that club soda contains sodium bicarbonate. Here's baking soda. What's in it? Active ingredient, sodium bicarbonate. So what happened when I made that limeade is the acid from the lime and the baking soda base from the club soda would have neutralized each other. So you still get the flavor of the lime, but it's not as acidic. And that's kind of clever. All right, now, what happens in your body when you drink milk? Milk makes your blood very acidic, and your body does not like to be acidic. It will do what it can to solve that problem. So it's feeling like the bottle of vinegar, and he's saying, "Where's my baking soda? I need some baking soda. Help me find some." Well, if you didn't happen to eat something that was a base that day, it's not going to find it in your bloodstream. So where's it going to get it? It can't go to Home Depot for parts. It has to work with what's inside itself. So what's inside your body, that is a good, reliable, stable source of a base that your body can turn to every time you do something that makes it acidic. There's one source that does it. And remember, drinking milk makes your body very acidic. Okay, so what do we do when I drink all my milk and I'm very acidic and my body says, I don't like being acidic, find me some base somewhere? Here's where it turns to. The good, reliable source of a base that's in your body is your bones. And people who drink a lot of milk will have bones that instead of being solid look like a cellulose sponge, because the body went in there and said, I'm acid, I need to get some base, and it pulls it out. And pretty soon you get bones that aren't solid. They're weak. There's not enough structure. So osteoporosis is a big problem in women, particularly after menopause. And how do they deal with it? The doctors or the health people will say, drink milk, drink milk. Well, the populations around the world, which we saw in Forks Over Knives, the populations that drink a lot of milk have higher osteoporosis. And the populations that have lower drinking of milk have less osteoporosis. And the people who are saying, drink milk, it makes strong bones, those are the people who sell milk. They don't depend on whether or not what they're saying is true. They depend on perception. If you believe that it's good for you, then you drink it and they get their money. It has nothing to do with reality. So, if I want good strong bones, I am not going to be putting milk on my oatmeal. And in fact, that's not milk. That is rice milk, which I found is lovely. It's sweet. I think it's Rice Dream is the brand I got. Rice milk is wonderful. Try it. Put it on something. If there's a new food that you want to try to get used to and you can't drink it or eat it straight, put it on something else, and that will help you get used to it. I did that in college. I had always drunk whole milk when I did drink milk, and I thought skim milk tasted like water. But then I had a chance to eat skim milk on cereal for a while. And then after that, whenever I drank whole milk, it tasted like I was drinking butter. It was too rich. So my taste did in fact change based on what I was doing. And the way you get yourself over that adjustment hump is you just put it on something. So I'm getting used to drinking rice milk by putting it on my oatmeal. And another thing that's good for you is flax. It has omega-3s. And in my grocery store, they had flax milk. So I bought flax milk and I bought rice milk and I pour them together. And then I freeze them in those little jars that you saw. And then anytime I need milk, I just pull one of those out of the freezer and stick it in a little pan of water for a couple of minutes and it melts it. And I'm off and running. And it never goes bad. So, that's breakfast. I will see you next time. Homework for next time, how about sugar coated? That's a good one too. And it's on Netflix, at least right now. Thank you everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.